In situations like this, I tend to ask myself, why? Why did I volunteer my opinions and end up here? Life is busy enough, right? I then find that if you contemplate this question long enough, you can normally find a point where it all started. And in this instance, the point was when, aged 17, I finally conceded I wasn't good enough to be a professional footballer. As a teenager, I was indeed football obsessed, although perhaps not supremely talented. So thankfully, that childhood dream gave way to a more mature fascination with the impact that I saw physiotherapy have, not just on football or sore ankles, but on people's quality of life. I witnessed my own mum's physical and cognitive decline caused by multiple sclerosis, but also the benefits and the freedom that she enjoyed from keeping physically active. She inspired my career in neurological physiotherapy. Around 10 years ago, after many years working in the NHS, I began to think about trying some private work. I was curious to see how big an impact I could have if I was able to work with a client more intensively over a longer period of time. I wanted the freedom to choose the best rehabilitation technologies on the market. And I had a young family, and I liked the idea of more flexible working to be more involved with them. I'd now like to share two experiences that I hope will inform our discussion. The first of these happened around 10 years ago when I was summoned to my NHS manager's office after she had heard of my intentions to offer a private neuro service. These, by the way, are management specs. Why are you looking into private physio for neuro conditions? The NHS should be providing all the input these patients need. Well, I just thought perhaps some people maybe need a wee bit more. Well, what if they've got cognitive problems and can't make good financial decisions? Oh, well, obviously I would never take advantage of. And how would people afford this? Many people with a neuro condition can't work. And what about conflict of interest if you see people in the NHS? Oh my goodness, you've worked in the community teams. You could have accessed all the patient files. Now, I'm not saying that the points raised don't have some validity, nor am I denying my penchant for a bit of drama in the retelling of this conversation, but the manner in which the issue was approached did leave me feeling like I'd done something wrong, something that was professionally frowned upon or even inappropriate. I felt hurt, embarrassed, confused, conflicted, a whole big mess of emotions. And having reflected on this experience now, it leads me to pose this question. Can we, as a profession, learn to embrace private physiotherapy wholeheartedly as a valid, useful and proactive sector, while taking appropriate and proportionate steps to ensure data security and professional standards are maintained? I'm going to leave that one with you and move on to the second experience, which I'd like to share, which concerns a powerful thing called hope, and my work over the last few months with an older lady recovering from a stroke. After 4 months in hospital, she was discharged to supported accommodation. She received 4 sessions of NHS community physio over the course of 2 months, at the end of which the NHS physio told her she thought she'd reached her full physical potential, some 7 months after her stroke. She was told she should not expect to walk again and that she would rely on equipment to help her transfer for the rest of her life. I have no doubt that her NHS input was of high quality. I think that without significant further rehabilitation, she was unlikely to make big further gains. I imagine a very rational decision was made to prioritise appropriately and stop input for this lady after 4 sessions. My question is, was the physio's decision to tell them that they have little or no hope of further improvement justified? This lady has now been receiving private physio input once or twice weekly for 9 months. She won't be skipping down the road anytime soon, but she can walk independently when holding a rail, and she can manage a stand and swivel transfer with some assistance. She's undoubtedly improved and continues to improve. Although she may not progress to being independently mobile, she thoroughly enjoys exercise, is motivated by noting the small gains she makes, and according to her family, is more upbeat and positive in her outlook. As a private provider, my question here is, are there regular, clear and documented discussions about realistic and measurable goals with her and her family to ensure they're making a well-informed choice about future therapy? In this case, there are, and they choose to continue with input. I think this example highlights how available resource and rehabilitation potential can sometimes be inadvertently linked. I don't have clear answers about how to deal with circumstances like these, but I do think we need to be more open and honest with our service users about the drivers behind our professional opinions. On one hand, hope can be a huge motivating factor. So by removing it, we risk creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other, unrealistic positivity risks overselling what can be achieved, leading to crisis later down the line. So the question here is, when we say someone has plateaued or reached the rehabilitation potential, is this based on objective assessment, clinical expertise, the evidence base, the response to therapy to date, or has it been influenced by what is possible within the limitations of available resource? Now, in this example, the resource is physiotherapy, but it could apply equally to the provision of equipment. So, for example, if an NHS physio sees someone who may benefit from equipment that the NHS cannot provide, should they still make the patient aware of this equipment? Now, I always answer questions like that in my head by thinking, well, what would my mum and dad want to know in this situation? And that leads me to the opinion that in most circumstances, the treating physio should make their patient aware of all the potential avenues they can follow to maximize their physical function, along with the implications of these different choices in terms of time, energy, or cost. I believe that if you do these things, people make good decisions about what is best for them. My final question is whether you agree with this or not. My time is up. I hope I've stimulated some thoughts for discussion. I am very glad I didn't make the grade as a professional footballer. Being a neurophysio is a much better fit.